Good evening, students, and good evening, my from the Department of English course course in English for competitive studies, competitive exams, and this is eighth lecture in a row. Just half an hour before, we have done one lecture on use of tenses, and now this is another lecture tonight on idiom and phrases. Idiom and phrases. This is also an important area which is asked in competitive examinations. And to deal with this topic, we have invited faculty from our college, from Department of English, Mr. Mahesh Dudhe. Mr. Mahesh Dudhe is an assistant of English, having more than 16 years of experience of teaching, and he is having great interest in teaching language. And as we know that this is a very important topic, he himself has chosen to. I now invite my colleague, Mr. Mahesh Dudhe, to make his presentation on idiom and phrases. Thank you. Over to Mahesh.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice words and wonderful introduction. Respected senior teachers, my colleagues from the Department of English, friends, fellows, and individuals, even amateur learners who have been able to join this session this evening. So let's get going. So the very first thing that I am able to sir, there is a major difficulty that power cut, power failure we have encountered, and it's going to take we don't know how long it is going to take for us to restore the electricity supply. Yes, it's dark and very hot.
I can see Mahesh that it is dark there, but you can continue if you have battery backup.
Yeah, I'll continue. I'll try my level best.
Okay. Because screen is visible, because screen is being operated by Project Nana. No problem.
Yeah, power is back. Power is back.
Congratulations. Please continue.
Yeah. So this is the fifth day of this 1 week online course in English for competitive examinations, and the particular topic that I have been assigned is idioms and phrases. So let's, without wasting any further time, start our efforts in trying to study a very important and integral part of, language skills, where the acquisition of proficiency in English is concerned. So as we all know, idioms and phrases, this particular area belongs to the domain of general grammar. And grammar, properly understood, has always to be taken as the most fundamental part of our efforts in this direction. And where preparing ourselves for competitive examinations is concerned, proper preparation has to be ensured. And if we do our level best, then it will very much be our foundation stone, a very solid basis for a successful outcome. So we would be able to see that our efforts and our hard work is going to pay off. So to begin this session on a positive note, I would just like to offer as my suggestions from my own end to all the aspirants who are hoping to take any particular competitive examination. So the very first positive thought I would like to begin with is a proverb from English. It's a saying, stitch in time saves nine. Now, this is one of the well-known sayings, and it denotes that we need to fix the small problem when it seems to be very small there and then, before it assumes larger proportions and before it becomes harder for us to tackle and fix. So I hope while taking any of these competitive examinations, this right frame of mind, positive approach is surely going to help us all. Then second one is also equally interesting. Our efforts and exact efforts is the particular you see part we need to pay attention. So cut your coat according to your cloth. Whatever you see resources we have, whatever you see things we are in possession of, so we have to see that they are channelized properly. They are you see streamlined. So cut your coat according to your cloth has to suggest that we have got to be mindful people, where our topmost priorities and specific requirements are to be, you see, observed with an observant eye. And then the third one that I'm happy to share with you is an ounce of discretion is worth a pound of wit. So even the smallest of your efforts is always a better strategy with all our carefulness and discretion, wisdom, than to be, you see, dealing with a lot many things. So we have to be wise people. We have to apply our discretion. So let's move on. And now we are straight away going to address, we are going to confront some of the frequently encountered difficulties and problems that these aspirants for competitive examinations they encounter, they have to face. So we have to give some time to consider these questions and to come out with our specific solutions, our individual solutions. So let me bring some of these questions to your attention. So the very first question we are faced with is how to prepare for an important test of English. So here we are face to face with a killer subject. English is often taken to be a killer subject at UG level and by collegians, but we needn't be necessarily bothered about, you see, this scourge. It's not anything of a scourge, but we take it to be a scourge. So how to prepare for an important test of English? We have to qualify. We have to pull through some such test of English before we can hope to join a high profile career course or a subject of study. Then how to perform well while taking or facing any of the various tests of English, which are seen as corridors to high profile opportunities of making brilliant careers. Now, making best careers, brilliant careers, it is a subject very close to everyone's heart. And who won't try to make brilliant careers? So we, all of us, always keep hoping to make our careers brighter and to build our careers. So this is another question we face, but we have to come out with our own answers. Of course, guidance would be provided by others. We would be seeking help from others, but still, you see, your own insights are going to matter most. And let us see. I have tried to offer a few simpler tips and suggestions. If the learners take it that way, I would like to offer these as my recommendations as a student of English. So let's not forget that English as a language is not very difficult to master. If we spend that much of time with this language, if we devote our attention to this task, it will be clear to us that English language is very easy to master. And Francis Bacon, stalwart, a great essayist, English essayist, he had to suggest through one of his essays, practice makes man perfect. So the more practice we put in, the more you see rewarding it is going. So more practice, more confidence is there. So the very first thing we have to start with is to affirm our confidence level. Then, as another requirement, we need to study the basics of the grammar of English. We are now talking about English. We are concerned with, you see, what it takes to master this language, to attain proficiency in English language. So the most basic part has to be our proper study of the grammar of English. And it is with right understanding. Your approach has to be very cohesive to achieve proficiency in making use of this language. Who won't like to become fluent in English? It is everyone's dream. But then you seeing building castles in the air and seeing dreams with your open eyes won't be wise. We have to put in painstaking efforts. We have to dig deeper into the ground. And additionally, reading culture, it has to go along with some of these other efforts we would be taking to master English language. So reading habit has to be given more time, and we have to become voracious readers, avid readers. So we must be making a selection of different books, various books and magazines, any of these resources. And our only, you see, goal would be to get to know the nuances of English, the behavior of this language, how it moves, how it functions. So these are known as nuances of English. And getting to know even initially, the nuances of English is always the best thing to start with. Um, uh, we have to remember that the earlier, the better. And this is surely going to help us. And we are able to strengthen our efforts. It enables us in enhancing our analytical abilities. Before taking any high profile competitive examination, we have to ensure that we have to be analytical beings. We have to see these aspects very deeply and to develop certain skills. And while doing this, it also, you see, has another advantage and another, you see, byproduct, you can say. It also strengthens our usage of the vocabulary of English. If we aspire to master this language, we need to be in, in good control of our, choices. So we have to master the vocabulary of English. If at all we want to improve our standard of English. Then apart from this, we also need to identify those areas and parts of English which are often considered to be very difficult by the students, by the community of students. जिन बातों को लेकर ज्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स को परेशानी होती है, जिन्हें लगता है कि ये उनकी कठिनाइयां हैं, तो इन कठिनाइयों का सामना स्वीकार करके इनका सामना करना उचित होगा। तो सबसे पहले तो हमारी कठिनाइयों, वो आपने सुना होगा वेयर वी टॉक अबाउट कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स एंड स्वॉट एनालिसिस। तो हमें पहले हमारे स्ट्रेंथ्स है, वीकनेसेस हैं, वी हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई. So the first thing we need to do is to identify the difficulties, the stumbling blocks. And once we are able to identify these blocks, we need to remove. We need to take efforts so as to, smoothen these difficulties and to make them make them going for us. English language in itself is a very interesting language. It's an ocean of many different things. It's a wonderful mixture of very many words, a wealth of words derived and obtained from many different languages. So English went on accepting all these influences over a very long period of time, and that was how it was able to expand its horizons, and it went on becoming comprehensive. So one has to be very keen, observant, and methodical, along with hard work. And these things have to go together. We have to be hard workers. We have to be very methodical. We have to be observant. But at the same time, we also need to pay equal attention to regular writing practice. We have to, take a look at the different model question papers, provided to the students by different recruitment bodies, where most of these examinations are concerned. So the very first thing, we have to make a good collection of some of these model question papers. Getting to know the exact, form of these question papers is most important for us. Then tenses. Sometime just a few minutes ago, we learned almost all things about tenses. Another area which is equally important is subject-verb agreement. And we call an alternative expression for this is concord. So we have to be very alert where the study of tenses and subject-verb agreement is concerned. And both these things are very much advisable, where doing a proper study of English is concerned. Then listening skill. I would like to make a mention of this skill along with other things that I have been able to mention. So listening to news on radio or watching English news on television helps a lot. It helps as well. So students, they must be aware of the importance of giving some time to listening. So the more you listen, the more comfortable you would become in trying to grasp this language. And then there is a need to apply, your brain specific strategies for critical thinking by considering. I would like to modify it by reconsidering what we have been able to learn or not. Whenever you spend some time trying to learn something, After spending some time, we need to take a short pause. We need to take a break, and then we need to ensure exactly how much we've been able to learn, or how much we have yet got to learn. So there is this assessment. We have to apply critical thinking. We have to make use of our brains so that that affirmation, that sense of satisfaction is achieved. And finally, to know any language in the best possible manner, to know any language well, we must be in the habit of conversing with, our peers, our friends, some of our colleagues who work along with us. So, if we are in job places, workplaces, workspaces, we need to converse with people on a regular basis, and that is how the this practice is holds the key. So we have to practice more and more, and if we have that much of patience, that much of willingness to devote ample time to this task, then we would be happy to see that one day a magic has come about, and it has started blessing us. Now let us straight away start talking about idioms and phrases in particular. uh, Now, idioms and phrases, if we look at the model question papers, given by the different recruitment bodies, which are, stepping stones to best careers, we'll get to see that this is almost an inseparable part of any of these competitive examinations. It will be never like this, that it won't be an area covered by any such recruitment body. It has to be covered, because after some time we'll see that it is very much a part of the culture of that particular language. So it is one among the most fascinating aspects of this language. And English is the language of the global community. It's a word language, as we know it all. And idioms, these are very interesting, things. And once we go on studying idioms and phrases, you will be craving more for these idioms and phrases. You would be getting thirsty. You would be hungry for learning more and more idioms and phrases. So this is an inexhaustible resource. This is an ocean of idioms and idiomatic expressions. Now, idioms, we need to understand first what these idioms are all about. Idioms are, we need to understand how they work. And we will come to know at every next term, wherever we go, that idioms are used in all forms of any given language. It's not that it's only an area to be studied in the context of English. For instance, take any language, you will see that idioms are most frequently used in all forms of any given language. That situation may be formal or informal, and the the kind of performance. It could be related to spoken language or written language. Now let us zero in on our attention on this particular language, English. So the situation may be formal or informal, spoken, medium or written medium, uh, whatever that corner could be. Idioms are always used. And if we look at some of the most popular languages around the globe, you'll find that, as in case of other languages, idioms in English, more than this language itself, are an integral, inevitable part and parcel of the culture of English country. अंग्रेजी, ये जो भाषा है, आज दुनिया की भाषा है, इस भाषा को हम कहते हैं, और इस तौर पर इसे जाना जाता है। तो इसका अपना एक बहुत ही समृद्ध कल्चर। तो जब तक इस कल्चर के साथ हम ये नहीं करेंगे, तारुफ नहीं करवाएंगे अपने आप का, और इसे पहचानेंगे नहीं अच्छी तरह से, तब तक आगे की गुंजाइश के बारे में बात करना उतना समझदारी का काम नहीं हो सकता। Now, one of the most towering problems students have to face with idiomatic expressions. The very first problem, and it's you see an obstacle. It's very much an obstacle. The moment you come across any idiom, particular idiom, and if there is you see a combination of diverse words, if that phrase is inclusive of at least a few words, we are confused. There is this failure to guess the exact meanings of words which are found to be parts of idioms and idiomatic expressions. So that is the troublesome part of it. And sometimes we need to understand this facet of idioms, that idioms can have literal meanings. In some contexts and situations, we have to go by accepting the literal meanings, the denotative meanings of these constituent words. And sometimes these words, constituent words, have completely different idiomatic meanings, or they are. So we need to understand the situation first, the context first. And accordingly, by applying logic and by applying your analytical or critical thinking, you'll come to know that a particular idiom has to suggest something more. Its meaning and suggestion could be connotative. So study, the time you devote for your study, how much time you spend once you sit by yourself and you hope to, you see, continue your studies. So your concentrated efforts, your attention, full attention has to be given to a proper study of idiomatic expressions. And this is definitely, surely going to make us successful and to become more fluent in English. And it is definitely going to improve our communication skills. So the study of idioms and phrases is there. It is an expectation by these recruitment bodies where competitive examinations are concerned, that we need to understand the culture of English language. We need to improve our communication skills. We need to be good readers. We need to be patient listeners. And we need to be good communicators. So spontaneously, side by side, we need to, you see, go along with all these different requirements. Now we need to define idioms and phrases, and where any language is concerned, there is this etymology of language, and there is this history of any language, and there have been influences which went on shaping any particular language. So let's try to define phrases. Initially, we hope to talk about phrases in general. A phrase, properly defined, is a group of related words. There is a very intimate relation between words which are part of a phrase. And a phrase usually doesn't include a subject and a verb. Uh, it is not like a sentence. It's not like a complete sentence. Uh, we should be able to differentiate a phrase from a sentence. So a phrase is a combination. It's a group of related words where you don't find a subject and a verb. It doesn't express a grammatically complete thought, something you find in a complete sentence, which is intelligible to you, which makes a complete sense. And a phrase essentially is an inclusive part of a bigger sentence. let's take an example. You see, taking help from examples and illustrations is always very helpful, especially where students are eager to understand any difficult area with the help of these examples. So the phrase, let's take an example. In a corner. The very moment we listen to this phrase or find this phrase, it becomes immediately clear to us that this is a phrase in general, and it has to be accepted as part of some sentence. So in a corner makes some sense to us, but not a complete sense. Something which a bigger sentence is surely going to provide to us. So a phrase is not a sentence. It is a constituent part of a sentence. It's a group of related words. Now, you see, another element we need to understand about idiom phrases is that it's a brief expression. A phrase is a brief expression. Sometimes we find that it appears as a single word, but usually a phrase consists of two or more words. And that's when it becomes easy for us to identify it as a phrase. And this group of, you see, this combination of two or more words, it forms an expression by itself. So these groups of, you see, two or more words, they are able to form an expression by themselves, and or else just by being a smaller portion of a bigger sentence. कभी कभी अपने आप में एक वहां पर अर्थ सूचित किया होता है, इट्स एन एक्सप्रेशन, या तो फिर किसी बड़े से सेंटेंस का एक छोटा सा अंदरूनी हिस्सा, इस तौर पर हमें फ्रेज को देखना होता है. Now let's talk when we talk about English letters. When we talk about the literature of this language, we often talk about the style. The style is the man. We have heard many a times. So it is a short, you see, terse or pithy expression. First, I need to talk about this expression. What is the nature of this expression? It's a terse expression. It's a pithy expression. Pithy expression is very concise. It's a concise expression and it expresses a point very clearly. It is crystal clear. And terse means with the use of the fewest of words, the minimum of words. So a phrase is a terse or pithy expression, and it carries some substance, some meaning, substance or meaning. कुछ ना कुछ इसमें से सूचित किया जाता है, और जब हम इसे पढ़ते हैं तो जो भी सूचित किया जा रहा है ये हमें समझ में आता है. उसके लिए कभी कभी अगर कॉम्बिनेशन थोड़ा सा बहुत ज्यादा डाइवर्स है तो हमें समय देना पड़ता है, या तो फिर अगर एक साधारण सा संदर्भ है तो बहुत जल्द ये समझ में आ सकता है. And now, just a while ago, I talked about the manner. When we are making or hoping to make use of any language, we have to be very keen about the manner in which we are going to make use of that particular language. You have to have your own individual style. So style is the man. In that sense, we say that style is the man. We have to be ourselves in making use of any language we would like to study. It could be any language. But once it comes to you, you have to make an innovative use of that language. And if you are able to make it, that will be known as your style. I am reminded of the brilliant, you see, the brilliant varieties of English used by Swami Vivekananda, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, you see, other such great scholars, and you see, knowledgeable people. So we talk about Vivekananda English, we talk about M.K. Gandhi English, we talk about Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru English. So that is where you are able to find the styles, particular individualities. So whenever there is this awareness of the manner or style, it's an expression of ourselves. and we are hoping to express ourselves fully by making the best possible use of that language. So it is a mode or a form of speech where your manner or style of speaking, making use of that language through the spoken medium or written medium in a formal situation or in an informal situation, whatever use we are going to make of that language, we have to be individuals. Our style has to make it known. Now let's take examples, a few examples. Before the first test. Now this is a very simple and a general phrase, before the first test. Nothing very difficult about it. No peculiar expressions. No, you see, witty words, bombastic words are not found here. And then another phrase is between ignorance and intelligence. Now, this has a special, you see, suggestion. This is a phrase different from the first phrase, between ignorance and intelligence. That is, you see, the time spent in making a struggle and by making some progression, by reaching somewhere. So, from ignorance to intelligence. So, from the smaller steps to the higher steps. So between ignorance and intelligence is another idiom, broken into thousands of pieces. Now this is a very simple phrase, and the meaning of it is very clear to us the moment we read it. Broken into thousands of pieces. Something got shattered, something got broken, and now we are able to see thousands of pieces. So take for example a piece of glass, a mirror, broken into thousands of pieces. Now, here, while talking about idioms and phrases, first of all, we try to define phrases. Now, we are going to understand what are phrasal verbs. Sometimes we come across these phrases, which are also combinations of words, but these are distinct combinations of words where they occur and function as verbs taken together. When we see them as a unit, we are able to see that the function of this phrase or the total effect, why at all they have occurred, is that of verbs. They function like verbs. And normally, we find that these phrasal verbs, they include lucid and simpler words. Very commonly used words are there. Now, idioms. We have to define idioms. Every language, every language has unique idioms. You can take examples of at least a few languages just to understand how it works. So each language has unique idioms. Just the same way, each person has a unique characteristic or unique speciality, your signature. Every person has his or her own signature. In the same way, every language has its own unique idioms. We should say idiomatic expressions. So idiomatic expressions, idioms belonging to different languages are distinct. They are different. But every language has its idioms, and these are signatures. The word idiom. Now let's look at the etymology of this word idiom. From where has this word been derived? So it derives from the Greek root word. जो ग्रीक लैंग्वेज में रूट वर्ड है इडियो, IDIO, वहां से इस शब्द को लिया गया है और जो आगे जाकर अंग्रेजी भाषा का एक अविभाज्य हिस्सा बना. So it comes from the Greek word, root word idio, and in Greek it means a special or unique signature. So we are able to see that it has to do with your style. It has to do with your manner of making use of language or any of these expressions. Now idioms, they could be defined, they may be defined as those, you see, peculiar expressions which are, you see, specific to a language. If we are talking about English language, we would be finding special idiomatic expressions. If we are talking about Greek language, there are certain idiomatic expressions which would be you see different from those idiomatic expressions you find in English language or in any other language. So these are expressions peculiar to any given language. चाहे भाषा जो भी हो, उस भाषा के अपने इस तरह के अभिव्यक्ति के साधन होते हैं, इन्हें हम idioms कहते हैं. Then in every language there are these particular certain expressions whose meanings are different from the separate meanings of the individual words. Now this is one of the most troublesome things we find in making us good study of idioms. We come across this difficulty. It's a stumbling block. So we are all of a sudden we are confused. We tend to take the individual meanings of the separate words which are part of an idiom. तो हम इस उलझन में पड़ जाते हैं कई बार कि लिटरल सेंस में इन छोटे छोटे शब्दों का हमें मतलब यहाँ पर या अर्थ हमें लेना होता है या फिर उसका कोई झुकाव अलग तरह का है, तो इस असमंजस में हम पड़ जाते हैं. And these are called idiomatic expressions, certain expressions where sometimes the meanings are different from the meanings of the individual words which are part of idioms. तो idioms के अंदरूनी जो हिस्से शब्द होते हैं उनका अपना अलग अलग मीनिंग जो भी है, इनकी के अलावा दूसरा भी कोई सजेस्टेड या कनोटेटिव उसका झुकाव या मीनिंग हो सकता है, उसी को तो हम idiomatic expressions कहते हैं. और ये हर भाषा के अलग अलग होते हैं, बहुत दिलचस्प होते हैं, और जितना हम पढ़ते जाएंगे उतना हमें प्यार होता जाएगा इन idiomatic expressions के साथ. Then let's talk about how these idiomatic expressions are peculiar to any language in a special sense. Trying to translate idiomatic expressions from one language to another language is futile. It is meaningless. It is almost nonsensical. We can't do it. और ये अगर हम करना भी चाहेंगे तो ये हर एक उस भाषा के साथ अन्याय होगा या बहुत भारी नुकसान हम करने वाले होंगे. So these expressions have contextual meanings. अब मराठी का एग्जाम्पल ले लीजिए, म्हणी आणि वाक्प्रचार. जसं आपण मराठीच्या संदर्भात म्हणतो तसंच आपण या ठिकाणी इडियम्स म्हणतोय इंग्रजी भाषेच्या संदर्भात. So where English is concerned, it's a global language. It's a language you see which has been you see popularized by Englishmen. It has been given to the world by England. But English has these idioms, but the meanings of these idioms are contextual. They are different, differently contextual, where we would be comparing these idioms with idioms belonging to other languages. So these idioms have contextual meanings. There is this difference between idioms belonging to say Oriya language or idioms belonging to Punjabi language. We are sure that these cultural and contextual differences are there. Now let's take a few examples. A couple of examples will be handy. In spite of all his in spite of all his bragging is boasting, trying to you see project yourself as someone who is superior to others or very important. So in spite of all his bragging, he had to eat humble pie. Now here we have come across a very interesting, a very fascinating idiom, to eat humble pie. Now here we should not be committing the mistake of taking the literal meanings of individual words which are part of this idiom. Now this has to be logically arrived at, and we need to know it properly. We need to study. First of all, we need to study it by looking it up in a dictionary or choosing a special book on idioms and phrases. So to eat humble pie means to to be sorry for something, to apologize humbly, or to yield, to surrender under humiliating circumstances. So for example, if you are facing someone who is angry with you, who is scolding you, who is abusing you, and you find that attitude and behavior to be intolerable and beyond endurance, you are adamant. Sometimes you are adamant. You are not ready to take an initiative, but you need to apologize. You need to be humble and to yield. You need to surrender. You need to ease the situation by recognizing that it could be humiliating if we are going to drag it too far. अगर हम इसे और ज्यादा अगर खींचने वाले होंगे तो हर तरफ से नुकसान हमारा ही होगा. So to eat humble pie has to mean that we are ready to be sorry for something. We are ready to apologize humbly. Then another example, he is not worth his salt. He is not worth his salt. Now the particular idiom here has been, put in bold, alphabets, bold letters. Not worth his salt means he is quite worthless. He has no worth, and we can't take him to be a person with some credentials, with some worth, with some substance. So this has to mean he is quite worthless. Now let's move on to the next slide. Uh, Here I have selected a short list of simpler and most commonly used phrases and phrasal verbs. I have also tried my level best to include phrasal verbs, where you'll see that simpler verbs are there and prepositions are there along with these simpler verbs from A to Z. Now this is a phrase, a phrasal verb, which is well known to every one of us. From A to Z means anything comprehensive or including everything thoroughly. It is very comprehensive and it includes everything. Now, the example given here is very interesting. Steve Jobs' latest book tells the story of his life from A to Z. So, उनकी जो अद्यतन किताब है, उसमें उनकी जीवन की कहानी का शुरू से लेकर आखिर तक from A to Z सब कुछ इस किताब में दिया गया है from A to Z. So it covers everything. It's very comprehensive. Then next phrasal verb is try on or try something on. Means to put on, to wear something, to see if that dress or that that shirt fits or suits you well or not. So try something on. Now let's take an example. Go ahead. If you find yourself along with any of your friends and you are busy in shopping clothes, then you'll see, go ahead, try it on. If that salesman is there or sales girl is there, she'll suggest, go ahead, try it on and see if it fits or not. तो आप ये कमीज पहन कर तो देखिए कि आपको ठीक से हो रही है भी है या नहीं हो रही है. So try something on. The next phrase is wipe off. Here it means to clean a surface. To clean, for example, a board or a table. Now the teacher. Let's take an example from our own field of activity. The teacher wipes off the blackboard in the class. So this is a specific action and it has been suggested, it has been made clear through this phrasal verb, through this phrase. And you are able to see that along with the verb, there is another particle which has appeared, OFF, off, wipe off. Now turn down. When you refuse to accept anything, when you straight away negate something, the idiomatic expression, the phrase has to be turned down. The example given here is, I asked her to come with me, but she turned me down flatly. Now here you are able to see that in between these two words, turned and down, there is this me. and we have to position it properly in the midst of these two separate words which are part of this idiom, part of this phrase. I asked her to come with me, but she turned me down flatly, straight away, by speaking harsh words. Now, just two more examples. Leaving behind the dog is a very simple phrase to be taken in its literal sense, and which is going to be a part of a bigger sentence. So there is no special, leaning, no special, idiomatic expression concerned here because of her glittering smile. Every single word is very simple. The suggestion is very straightforward. Because of her glittering smile is another very easy phrase, and we need to see this phrase in the context of some sentence, a bigger sentence. So let's move on. Let's advance further, and we will see how many more things we need to study to be able to understand idioms and phrases. Now, more commonly, most frequently used idiomatic phrases. We are going to look at the list of these idiomatic expressions. Burn the midnight oil. These are, idioms proper, where the meanings of these idioms uh, they are more than what is suggested through the use of the individual words. तो इसमें जो इस ग्रुप में जो अलग अलग शब्द आए हैं उनका झुकाव और इडियोमेटिक एक खास यहाँ पर अर्थ सूचित किया जाता है। इन सारे इडियम्स को अब हम देखने वाले हैं। बर्न द मिडनाइट ऑयल. Now it means it is not known to the students. Most of our students do not understand what it means. Means to stay awake till very late at night to work or to study. पढ़ाई करने के लिए या कोई जरूरी काम है उसे पूरा करने के लिए समय लगने वाला है तो हम देर रात तक जाग रहे होते हैं। तो इस अंदाज को या इस तरीके को हम कहते हैं बर्निंग द मिडनाइट ऑयल. Now example is given here. Maya has been burning the midnight oil lately. मतलब पिछले कुछ समय से. I guess she has a big examination coming up. तो हमें अंदाजा हो सकता है कि एक बहुत जरूरी एग्जाम वो जिसके लिए अपीयर होने वाली है ऐसा है, इसीलिए वो पिछले कुछ समय से पिछले कुछ रातों से जागती रही है. So that example speaks volumes for what this idiomatic expression is all about. Then another second one is at loggerheads. At loggerheads means you are opposed. You are opponents. Means to be engaged in a head-on dispute. You are a counterpart of a quarrel. आप किसी झगड़े का एक हिस्सा है, दूसरा छोर है, और यहाँ पर बहुत जोर लगाकर और बहुत ज्यादा ऊर्जा के साथ अगर आप किसी का विरोध कर रहे होते हैं तो इसे हम कहते हैं इडियम यूज किया जाता है एट लॉगर हेड्स. मतलब हम किसी के प्रतिस्पर्धी हैं और हम उसके साथ क्या बहस कह लीजिए या झगड़ा कह लीजिए एट लॉगर हेड्स. नाउ एग्जाम्पल इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग हियर. वर्कर्स एंड द मेंबर्स ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट बोर्ड ऑफ अ कंपनी. The labor union and management of the company are at loggerheads in this affair or in this matter, and it may be some time before they can negotiate a resolution or a settlement. तो जो वर्कर्स जो श्रमिक लोग हैं उनका जो यूनियन है और मैनेजमेंट जो कंपनी को चलाने वाले हैं, कारखाने के संचालक मंडल में से जो हैं, तो इन दोनों समुदायों में क्या है, अनबन है. दे आर एट लॉगर हेड्स और समय लगने वाला है कि सुलह हो जाए या कोई अच्छा सा हल निकल पाए. तो यहाँ पर हमने देखा एट लॉगर हेड्स का झुकाव कैसा है. Now another idiom I often got to hear this the use of this idiom from Bhowate sir, by hook or by crook, to adopt whatever means possible, fair or unfair. तो कई बार सुनने में आता है, बहुत ज्यादा आम तौर पर इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, हर कहीं हर एक संदर्भ में. एग्जाम्पल देखिए, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. सैली or take any other name
Priscilla was determined to get an A. A is a grade in the exam by hook or by crook. जैसे भी संभव हो, जो भी करना पड़ जाए, तो by hook or by crook, by trying any means, whether it is whether that option is fair or unfair, you are ready to adopt it, and but you will try to get what you dream of getting. Then draw the line is the next idiom we have to see here. Draw the line. Somewhere something has to stop. कहीं पर किसी बात को रुकना चाहिए, किसी बात को रोका जाना चाहिए, ऐसा इसका झुकाव है। तो मीन्स टू सेट अ लिमिट टू समथिंग, कोई मर्यादा है भाई, कोई सीमा है किसी काम को सहने की, किसी काम को करते रहने की, या फिर उसका जो परिणाम होगा औरों पर वो उसे सहा जाना, इसकी कोई मर्यादा होनी चाहिए। तो इस तरह से ये मीनिंग है, एज इन केस ऑफ एक्सेप्टेबल बिहेवियर और एटीट्यूड, किसी का अगर बर्ताव या अंदाज या उसका जो आचरण है, इससे इस संदर्भ में खास करके इस इडियम का इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, ड्रॉ द लाइन। कहीं पर रोका जाना चाहिए, कहीं पर रुकना चाहिए। वन हैज टू ड्रॉ द लाइन समवेयर इन दिस मैटर। मान लीजिए कहीं पर आपकी किसी से बनती नहीं, तो तेवर दोनों तरफ से बहुत भड़का हुआ है, तो इसे कहीं पर थोड़ा सा मरहम लगाया जाना चाहिए, थोड़ा पानी छिड़कना चाहिए। वाटर हैज टू बी स्प्रिंकल्ड एंड वी हैव गॉट टू अपीज द मैटर। कहीं पर किसी ने, एटलीस्ट दोनों में से एक ने ड्रॉ द लाइन, कहीं ना कहीं अपने आप को रोकना चाहिए, रोक लगानी चाहिए, ताकि मामला सुलझ जाए। एंड द लास्ट वन इज लेट द कैट आउट ऑफ द बैग। इट्स वेरी फेमस and during our earlier educational stages, when we were kids, we often learned this idiom taught to us by teachers. Let the cat out of the bag. Now this has a special meaning because it is of the nature of a secret. कोई बात है जैसे हम जो किसी को नहीं बताई जानी है, किसी से छुपाई जानी है, सो लेट द कैट आउट ऑफ द बैग का देखिए कैसा यहाँ पर झुकाव है, मीन्स टू रिवील अ सीक्रेट और टू डाइवल्ज अ सीक्रेट। किसी रहस्य को, किसी जैसे हम मराठी में कहते हैं गुपित, तो किसी छिपाई गई बात को क्या कर देना, लोगों के सामने जाहिर कर देना, इस राज को खोल देना। देखिए एग्जाम्पल बहुत दिलचस्प है। डोंट लेट द कैट आउट ऑफ द बैग अबाउट तुषार्स बर्थडे प्रेजेंट। तो जन्मदिन के अवसर पर बर्थडे प्रेजेंट, उपहार या तोहफा क्या तुषार को दिया जाना है या उसके लिए लिया होगा, इसके बारे में अभी से औरों को कुछ बताना नहीं, या इसके बारे में ये जो सीक्रेट है ये औरों के सामने जाहिर करना नहीं, खोलना नहीं। आगे बढ़ते हैं। Let us see. There is another very interesting facet of idioms we must never be turning our blind eyes to. तो हमें यहाँ ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि कहीं कहीं ये जो idioms होते हैं या जिन्हें हम idiomatic phrases कहते हैं, ये combinations में आते हैं। जैसे हमने थोड़ी देर पहले बात की collocations की, तो इस तरह से कुछ idioms आते हैं और ये बहुत ज्यादा हमें अच्छे भी लगते हैं और हम इनका उपयोग करना पसंद भी करते हैं। तो इनमें से कुछ गिने चुने idiomatic पेयर्स को मैंने यहाँ पर लिया है, आप सभी को अच्छे लगेंगे ऐसी उम्मीद करता हूँ। हार्ट एंड सोल means to do something very sincerely. If in doing something you are very honest, if you are very sincere, then the idiom could be used heart and soul. So you have put in whatever you have to put in. तो आप जो भी योगदान दे सकते हैं, आपने हर संभव कोशिश की है या ऊर्जा लगाई, हार्ट एंड सोल, पूरी तरह से किसी काम में लगन के साथ मगन होकर अपने आप को सहयोग करना, जिसे हम कहते हैं। Example is given, I am devoted to my work. मैं मेरे काम के प्रति क्या हूँ, बहुत निष्ठावान। I am devoted to my work, heart and soul, पूरी तरह से, completely. That means you are very sincere. Now this idiom, let us see, it's very interesting. And the next time we would be conversing with anyone, we would be happy to make use of this idiom heart and soul. जैसे किसी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम को मान लीजिए क्रैक करना है या फिर नट को क्रैक करना है, तो हम हार्ट एंड सोल स्टडी अगर करेंगे तो उचित होगा. Then second one is fits and starts. Now the moment I mentioned this idiom here, I was reminded of another verb, sporadically. Means something done irregularly by fits and starts. करके देखना, रुक जाना, फिर से शुरू करना, फिर से रोक देना, जिसे हम कहते हैं fits and starts. Example is given. He is in the habit of doing every work by fits and starts. उसकी ये आदत है कि हर काम को वो एक जैसे इन द वन गो नहीं करता है, लगन के साथ, निरंतरता के साथ नहीं करता है. तो रुकता है, फिर से करता है, रोकता है, फिर से छेड़ता है. So by fits and starts. If you are not doing something regularly, if you keep on taking breaks and then keep on starting it anew and afresh every next time, then this idiom has to be used. Fits and starts means you are not doing anything something regularly and with your full attention. Then leaps and bounds means if anything is happening or if anyone is doing something very rapidly. If something happens very rapidly or if someone is doing something very swiftly, that is where this idiom has to be brought into play, leaps and bounds. देखिए इसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन भी इसी तरह से किया जाता है ताकि हमें जल्द से जल्द समझ में आ जाए कि इसके मायने क्या है. Leaps and bounds. Example is very you see clear here. His business is developing by leaps and bounds. उसका कारोबार, उसका व्यवसाय बहुत ही गतिमान ढंग से क्या कर रहा है, उन्नति कर रहा है, विकास कर रहा है, उसमें वृद्धि हो रही है. तो इस बात को दर्शाने के लिए या इस सूचित करने के लिए हम इडियम यूज करेंगे बाय लीप्स एंड बाउंड्स. तो वहां पर क्या आएगा, बाय आना चाहिए, ये यहाँ पर सबसे जरूरी है. देन लॉन्ग एंड शॉर्ट. If any subject seems to be very difficult to you, the very first moment you come across that subject or person, you say you need to study the long and short of any person or any subject before you can you can make friends with that subject or that individual. So long and short means the substance of something you find at the core, something meaningful, something energetic. So that is substance. जैसे हम कहते हैं फल में मिठास, तो long and short. Example is given. Let me know the long and short of the whole episode right now. तो ये माजरा क्या है, ये मसला विवाद क्या है. तो जैसे हमने पहले देखा ना A to Z, तो उसी को देखिए अलग अंदाज में idiomatic expression किस तरह से यहाँ पर in pairs किस तरह से लिया गया है long and short. कि इसका A to Z क्या है, long and short क्या है, कि भाई ये जो पूरा फसाद है या झगड़ा है या ये जो मामला है, ये long and short मतलब छोटी से छोटी बात से लेकर इसका जो आखिरी चरम है या ऊंचाई है, शिखर है, वहां तक हमें जानकारी लेनी है. Now last one is there and I need to mention hard and fast. ऐसा कोई जगह कोई पुलिस वाला हमारा डंडा लेकर या चाबुक लेकर हमारे पीछे पड़ा नहीं है, भाग नहीं रहा है कि ताकि हम बहुत ज्यादा जल्दबाजी में या हड़बड़ाहट में किसी काम को करें. So means anything of a definite nature. हार्ड एंड फास्ट का मतलब है करना ही करना है, अति आवश्यक है, जिसका स्वरूप क्या है, डेफिनेट, पर्टिकुलर, सर्टेन, इसका क्या है स्वरूप. एग्जाम्पल, देयर कैन बी नो हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल फॉर गुड कंडक्ट. अगर अच्छा आचरण करना है, अच्छा बर्ताव करना है, तो इसके लिए कोई टाइम टेस्टेड हार्ड एंड फास्ट मतलब एकदम से बना बनाया या टाइम टेस्टेड या दुनिया ने जिसे एकदम केवल एकमात्र या बहुत कारगर ऐसा कोई साधन या तरीका है, ऐसा हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल नहीं है कोई. तो इस बात को यहाँ बताया गया है इस इडियम के माध्यम से जो पेयर में आया है. आगे बढ़ते हैं. अब हम समापन करने जा रहे हैं. मुझे लगता है अगले 5 मिनटों के अंदर अंदर ये हो जाना चाहिए, हो सकेगा ऐसी उम्मीद. So the last of all, but not in least important, is my recommendation of the names of a few books and resources that every such aspirant or candidate for any competitive examination he should be taking help from or referring to. How to prepare? Now the test of English as a foreign language. You must have heard about this. You must have heard about GRE. You must have heard about TOEFL, TOEFL. TOEFL is test of English as a foreign language, where admissions in foreign universities are concerned, and where you have to clear these examinations. These are considered to be the most difficult examinations. TOEFL. So the first book I have recommended is Barron's TOEFL IBT by Pamela J. Shah. We must choose it as a very significant resource. Then TOEFL जो मॉडल क्वेश्चन पेपर मिलते हैं, उपलब्ध होते हैं, उसके लिए एक किताब है TOEFL Practice Tests by Educational Testing Service. It's a paperback edition, and I hope that edition is easily available and obtainable. Then from a very long time, since our school going days, we have always known this famous book of Wren and Martin's High School English Grammar and Composition. It's an indispensable resource. अगर आपको इंग्लिश ग्रामर को अच्छी तरह से बुनियादी तौर पर करना है तो रेन एंड मार्टिन्स के लिए दूसरा कोई ऑप्शन है नहीं, आपको चुनना चाहिए, बहुत कारगर साबित होगा, बहुत उपयोगी सिद्ध हो सकता है. Then a few days back, I could learn about one very highly useful resource. Dr. Bhowate sir suggested this book to me, and I noted it down there and then at that very moment. Word Power Made Easy, a very popular, internationally acclaimed book by Norman Lewis. आप अगर इस किताब को देखेंगे, कहीं ना कहीं आपको बहुत फायदा होगा, और जहाँ idioms की बात है, vocab की बात है, यहाँ बहुत आपको लाभ होगा और मार्गदर्शन किया गया. Then you can also try out the use of cue cards for vocabulary. If it's not possible, then you can maintain a copy, your own copy, a notebook, where you would be regularly noting down at least 20 to 25 words on a regular basis and trying to put them into practice while conversing or communicating with others. So cue cards are also useful. Where smaller kids are there, teachers often make use of cue cards, because when the kids are of a very tender age, they are in need of making use of cue cards. तो हम चाहे उम्र में बड़े भी हों तो फिर भी कार्ड्स अगर जेब में लेकर चलेंगे, या थोड़ा कम से कम कुछ कार्ड्स हमारे पास होंगे जो दिन भर में जैसे भी समय मिले हम देखते रहेंगे और फिर दोहराते रहेंगे. So cue cards for vocabulary, these are specially provided by Triumphant Institute of Management Education. नागपुर में भी इसकी शाखा है. जो ये होता है ना, CAT के लिए अपीयर होने वाले लोग जहाँ कोचिंग लेते हैं, उनकी ओर से ऐसे कार्ड्स प्रदान किए जाते हैं जहाँ पर उन कार्ड्स पर अलग अलग वर्ड्स या फ्रेजेस, इडियम्स छपे होते हैं, और कार्ड के दूसरा जो जैसे कॉइन का हिस्सा होता है, पीछे उनके मीनिंग्स दिए होते हैं. तो ये क्यू कार्ड्स अगर इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो इनके माध्यम से भी बहुत फायदा हो सकता है. देन स्पेशली यूजफुल book that I would like to suggest, Idioms and Phrases for All Competitive Examinations by Arihant Publications, a very big name in publications industry. Arihant Publications India Private Limited, a very highly useful resource, and I would be happy if you would be getting it for yourselves. Then as students of literature and English language, we have all been in the habit of making use of a standard dictionary. So one dictionary which is often recommended by good teachers is the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. Nowadays, the latest enlarged and revised edition of this dictionary is available in the market. It is priced at around 800 rupees. You can take it, and you would be very happy to see that most of these idioms and phrases would be found in Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. Then, as you see, students of Marathi medium schools, before our matriculation, we had, you see, this opportunity of, you see, reading a Rapidex English speaking course. Regional language editions are also available. Even for Marathi speaking students and community, this Rapidex is highly useful, because there you will find idioms and phrases which are perhaps not going to be found in any other book, because that book is of often that book has been in the market and has been very popular for a very long period of time. So initially it was able to include some very special idioms and phrases, perhaps which have not been able to find, you see, place in some other book or some other edition. And then next one is a very stalwart person. He is almost an authority where fluency in English is concerned. Cave Nair, Mr. Cave Nair, down south, South Indian, and he is a man who has undertaken the research of and the study of English language for more than 35 to 40 years. And he came out with a very specialized correspondence course for developing fluency of, you see, aspirants by providing study modules through correspondence mode. So study modules are there. If any of you are interested, you can go for it. There is this particular portal of fluency, Mr. Cave Nair. And a few years back, when I was a candidate for a bank recruitment examination, I had a chance to visit the National School of Banking in the city of Pune. And there I obtained the study modules for English, for, you see, strengthening my study of English to be able to crack the State Bank probationary officers examination. So that National School of Banking, it is a panel of experts who have prepared study modules for various bank recruitment examinations, and almost all the requirements pertaining to English, the study of English language, have been covered in these modules which the NSB has provided. And almost every metropolitan city like Pune, Nagpur, Aurangabad, they have their branches like Triumphant Institute of Management Education. So that's it, and let's move on to the next slide. Ma'am, shall we? Now that's it. And the final and the last and the best suggestion I have to offer here, while preparing for any difficult competitive examination, let's be confident, let's take heart, and let's leave no stone unturned in preparing for any competitive examination with this methodical approach and observant eye. Thank you one and all, and that is the correct moment and the right you see time for me to you see say a very peaceful good night to every one of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhowate, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mahesh. It was wonderful presentation, and thank you, Prajakta, for handling the PowerPoint up till this time of night. And I wish you all good night now, and we'll meet tomorrow in the morning.
Next morning, early in the morning, as usual.
Yeah.
Thank you one and all once again.